Hello everyone and welcome back to another crawler build video. I apologize if I sound kind of weird. This is my third time trying to record this stupid video because I keep getting interrupted or I screw something up. So I apologize. But before we get into the actual video, let me really quickly go over some things. So first of all, we did get some music for this video, courtesy of Jonas Christensen. It's just a quick bit of audio that he created. I don't think he created it specifically for the video, but he does not do this kind of music normally. He normally does more rock style music. So if you want to look him up, anticipate more kind of hardcore rock than the music that we're going to be listening to. And I'm sorry, it's only like a 5-minute sound bite that I'm just repeating. Hopefully that'll change in the next episode. We'll get some more variation in the music. So there's that. I also would like to apologize for the weird, like 2 times that there wasn't a video being posted. I only recently found out that apparently YouTube does not like me putting up scrap mechanic survival videos. So not sure what's going on there. That being said, it wasn't a particularly enthralling series based on how often you guys liked it, so, or how many of you guys viewed it. So based on that, I am going to put that on away. I'm going to put that in storage. We're not going to see that again unless you guys really want to. So I am putting in something in for the cycle instead of the survival series. It is still scrap mechanic. I apologize. I really enjoy scrap mechanic. That's just what we're going to deal with for the moment. That being said, it's going to be slightly different. It's going to be essentially a workshop update, or what I refer to as workshop update videos. And what that means is that I have a lot of projects that I just work on in scrap mechanic over time. And a lot of them are fairly big projects on top of everything else, actually. And I just slowly work on them throughout the week whenever I just want to get away from more intensive stuff and I feel like doing something strange. So that's what those are. And what we'll be doing is, every other week I'll be doing like an update video on what I've been working on, what's changed, that kind of stuff. That being said, this coming week's video will be a bit longer because I'm going to be going over a lot of what's already there. So, just as a heads up. And I will be mentioning kind of what's going on next week's video, so there's that. Lastly, I apologize that this video won't be quite as long as the previous ones. Summer school classes have just kicked in and kind of screwed up my scheduling. So I didn't have quite as much time to record this video, so I greatly apologize. I don't like having the videos shorter like this, but some things just need to change due to circumstances that are both under my control and out of my control. So I apologize. That being said, let's actually get into the video. So, and hopefully, I've played around with the audio levels. Hopefully the audio levels aren't too bad, but it'll give you some music in the background. So yeah. So first of all, this is something that I've been trying to figure out for a while. This is the CCU unit, or the CC unit, sorry. And kind of what you just saw there, it stands for Central Control. And each unit is going to have one of these, that is the slave unit. So this specifically is CCU slave. I think I put another U, 1C. That means that this is the slave unit for unit 1C. There will be a CCU master 1C. That'll be in the main control, and that'll be relaying all the information from this specific unit to there. And that's kind of how that entire system is going to be dealt with. I'm just going to actually shut up because there's not a huge amount of information that I need to go over for for this because I do write down a fair bit of what's going on. So I'll let the music do the talking. Alrighty. Now, let me try and get that. I go specifically just for. There we go. Okay. If I don't put it at specific decibels, my mind goes crazy. So, as you saw, that is the unit for, or the CCU for this unit. And you might have noticed that there is an air section and a flooding section. And you'll also may have caught that I also had a composite for passenger lighting at one point in time. I am sad to report that you cannot send composite over composite. It makes me very saddened, but I suppose it makes sense. It just makes me sad is all. So I'm gonna have to figure out a new way to transfer RGB lighting code, because I want the RGB for the passenger sections and the crew sections to be individually controlled from the master. or from the headquarters, the bridge, whatever term you want to use, I suppose. And this is me setting up the error system. So the idea is that somewhere on the deck, or on the bridge, sorry, I keep calling it the deck, it's the bridge. There is essentially a giant board that is just overlaid with all of the units, and it will list like status of each unit, and there will be a kind of thing that says error, and it will let you know if there is an error that's going on. Oh, here we go. This is the lighting thing that I was talking about, where I was just trying to figure out composite stuff. I don't work with composite very often, I will admit, but the idea is that if each unit will be able to report if it's an error, and that's what that kind of OR section is that there's a bunch of things that will automatically report the unit in being error, and that's what those are for. And a lot of it is actually if the unit's not connecting to the surrounding units, if it's not reading a connection to the surrounding units. So it will immediately read as being in error if those connections are not verified. Now, speaking of connections, this is an interesting one. So this is the connection to the unit that is directly behind the turning unit, or the 1C unit, I suppose. And this one, okay, so first of all, I need to go into a bit of behind the scenes on this one. This specific clip of me dealing with a door is actually part of the reason why I had to record this video. It's because I found out that when I was setting up the time-lapse video and I exported it and everything so you could watch it, I found out I accidentally flipped the 2 recordings I had done, and this specific door was the only reason that I caught it in time. Or else it would have been like, this doesn't make any sense. So I saved myself a lot of time and effort just because of the single door unit. That being said, the door actually does have a small bit of backstory, but I'll get into that in just a moment. You may notice that the way that I'm building the door is not universal. Like I said, I originally wanted this unit to be universal for both the port and starboard of the crawler. I've decided that that's kind of an unrealistic expectation. Oh, this is me trying to figure out the door, and I'll kind of explain it at the end when we actually go into the game and we walk through what's been done. But where was I going with this? Oh my god. Oh, now I remember. Good lord, I'm all kinds of spastic tonight. I figured that that's just kind of an unrealistic expectation because there's a lot of things that I can't put in because they would be specific to which side that unit will be. So I've went ahead and decided that this unit the base unit that I'm creating is going to be specifically for the port side, or the left side for those of you that don't know their port from starboard. Also, oh, there we go. I was going to say the music just cut out, but I think that's just it doing its thing. So this will be the left side, and I'm just going to alter it as needed to be the right side. So that's how that's going to work. We'll just figure it out from there. So you'll notice that I'm putting in a couple connections. Some electric and again, my brain is all kinds of spastic tonight. Liquid, there we go, a fluid connector. I don't know where my brain is tonight, good lord, folks. So those two, and then the one and the main connector are going to be all of the 3 types of fluid that need to transfer between the units. That isn't air, I should clarify. Oh, this was me fixing it. I finally noticed that one of the batteries had one of the warning signs, and those warning signs are pretty new. Between when this video, or between the last time lapse and this time lapse, there was an update that added in those really fancy warning indicators to note if there's some sort of an issue. Oh, and this is me putting in the door. I almost forgot about the story behind the door. But before I get there, so that's been really useful because that actually warned me about the battery being having the error. So this door has a story. This door has a story behind it beyond just the recording. Geez, maybe about 4 years ago, I think. I got the awesome experience to go behind the scenes on a cruise ship. And what that means is I actually got to go below the passenger decks, and I got to go into the crew decks. And I also got to go to the bridge, which was pretty awesome on top of that. But I got to go to the crew decks, and I found out that the bulkheads... So normally on a cruise ship, in the passenger areas, the bulkheads are like these small... Like, they're kind of thick doors, but they're normally open. As soon as you get below decks, those bulkheads get way thicker. Like, I'm talking like vault door sized thick. So that's what this is supposed to be, is that in my mind, that's what the bulkheads would need to be for a unit like this, for a crawler like this, because it's going to be experiencing some fairly high pressure. I mean, it's at the bottom of the ocean, right? So it's going to have a fair bit of high pressure going on there. So that's why that door looks big and it's got the caution around it, because you would need to have something like that for something to withstand that kind of pressure, is it would be thick. Obviously, it's not quite as thick as it actually would be. Stormworks doesn't really like double layered doors, like actual double layered doors. So this is what the best I could come up with, is that it looks thick. It looks nice and thick. And obviously it is going to be kind of double layered because the next unit is also going to have a door identical to it. But we'll get there. So this is just this is actually just to open this bulkhead door. It's not an automatic bulkhead door. In order for the two doors to open, one side needs to actually open it. Manually go turn the key and press the button to open it, and it will respond on both sides. So both sides will be able to open up the door. Where's my water? I just talked a lot. I'm sorry. In just a bit, I'm actually going to start putting in all the fun logic. And I say fun with a a massive quotation mark, of putting in all of the connection and disconnect logic. And it's going to be very similar to how it is for the tread as well. So I'll just kind of be quiet and let it play through on that one. Alrighty. So, uh, last thing that you saw just then was me putting in some extra batteries. Theoretically, we wouldn't need that many batteries, but it's mostly just an in-case sort of scenario. And this is actually me continuing on making the underside look kind of pretty. There's only so much I can do to make what's essentially going to be, to some degree, a kind of giant cube look pretty, but I'm going to try. Oh, I think I was trying to fix my music here. Every once in a while, I'll have to pause to try and fix my music. So I apologize that there was a long kind of delay here. So this is nice. Actually, this section of the video is me mostly working on the passenger area, which was actually kind of fun for me. It was kind of a nice little reprieve from working in the crew area. So this is supposed to be like a bar area. And I figure that, I mean, you're in open sea. Obviously, miners would be able to be in a bar area. They just wouldn't be able to purchase stuff. So that's why I'm putting it here, kind of next to the observation area. And the observation area is gonna get kind of tiny bit crowded, but we'll just have to deal with it for the moment. And I was working through this, and I thought, you know, what'd be really cool is if the bar had a screen so you could watch where we're going. So I tried to do that, and I realized that we actually had hit the max height for a unit. So this is me trying to figure out if I miscounted something, and it turns out, yes, I did miscount the height of the entire unit. So this is me trying to fix all the TV screens. This section of the video is like from here on out, a lot of this is me trying to fix my screw-ups. Not necessarily screw-ups from before, but just screw-ups in general. So, yeah, fun times to be had for sure. So I went ahead and decided to put in a smaller screen as well, so that the bartender would actually still have some, like, bottles, excuse me, that they could serve from. So that's kind of why it's a smaller screen instead of the bigger screen. And again, I was doing a lot of like height checking to make sure that I didn't build too high up. And this is me starting on essentially it's supposed to be a retail shop. And I know that I'm technically still in mirrored mode, so I'm making 2 copies of it. I imagine that once I'm done with this, the other side, or the opposite side, how do I want to phrase this? The side that is facing the ocean and not into the interior of the crawler is going to be restrooms. There we go. I knew I'd be able to get some wording out eventually. So this is me just kind of hooking up some electrics, and I actually used a bit more of the circuit breakers, which I was really glad about. So this is me building some doors. And the doors would be able to be opened and closed, depending on if the store is open or not. And I haven't figured out what the store is for yet. If it's like a jewelry shop, if it's a souvenir shop, I don't know yet. But I figured that it would be kind of fun to just have a shop here. So this is me starting to kind of double check that stuff goes correctly. And I've noticed that there's a bit of an issue with the camera. If you look back there, I will eventually fix that camera. I keep forgetting to do so. I think I noticed it the first time around as well. When I was first testing that camera, that it is a bit too far back, so it's actually clipping through the blocks. So yeah. And I figured that the doors would be glass doors. Because I'm basing this a lot off of the cruises that I've been on. So a lot of the doors actually to the shops are actually glass doors. So now I know why I named that controller, even though it's going to disappear. Oh, this is the fun part. So I had no clue how in the world to end the side of the shop when I was first building it. Because it was kind of getting close to the side of the unit, so I was trying to figure out how in the world to do so. And, well, you'll see what I do. So you can see I kind of did this, I don't even know what to call the shape, but I built this kind of weird shape to try and cap off the end of the shop. And it occurred to me that there's only stairs to get between the crew decks and the passenger area. That is not very good for trying to restock a shop at all. So it occurred to me that we would need a elevator. So this is me trying to figure out how to build an elevator. This is the first time I've ever built an elevator, actually, and it was a bit of an experience, I will admit. And in retrospect, I probably can fix. So there was a height issue at the bottom of the elevator, and I think I can actually fix that by just bringing the entire storeroom up by a block. Oh, I just hit my mic. Oops. And fixing that little issue where it's actually having to dip below the rest of the level. I'm speaking softly. I'm sorry. I need to get closer to the mic, I think. That's what I get for watching levels, I suppose. So, this is me trying to figure out how in the world to do an elevator. And the stock room is not supposed to be in the same room of the tanks. I figured that the stock room is actually going to be on the other side of the elevator, so that's why it's a double-sided elevator. And again, this is the first time I've ever built an elevator, so it looked kind of weird. I apologize. This was my natural thought process as I was building an elevator. So this is me frantically trying to figure out how in the world am I going to automate the doors, because I didn't want to have a microcontroller for it. So I eventually just finally went with a distance sensor, because it seemed like it made the most sense. And surprisingly, the end product's not bad, actually. It's a moderately robust system. It does have a bit of a fatal flaw in it, but it works. Well, it's actually got two fatal flaws, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So the way that the system works is that the sensor, and I think I'm just about to put in the logic for it. The sensor, actually no, this was me figuring out that there was an issue with trying to put a top to the elevator, which kind of sucks. I can't put a top on the elevator because that actually collides with the top of the unit. So, the idea that I had is that if the sensor can only sense stuff within like a certain distance, what if the distance gets shortened, meaning that there's an elevator in the path? pathway. So it's essentially breaking line of sight to some degree. It's line of sight to a distance. So that's kind of how I did that. And when I put these sensors in the far reach of the elevator, so as soon as the elevator hits that point, it will be able to open the doors, and as soon as it starts moving, like the first block, it will close the doors, and that's how that works. And that just had quick and easy buttons just connect up to the throttle. I keep forgetting the actual official name for that part. I keep just calling it a throttle. That's what it looks like, right? So this is me finally testing it out and failing spectacularly. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. So you notice that I kind of locked myself into the elevator. I found that there was 2 problems. 1, I never allowed the elevator to go back down. 2, the height doesn't make any sense. So, and again, I'll have to revisit that once I fix the actual connection point of the slider. Now, for those of you that don't really know Stormworks, this is a kind of a funky issue that's, I think, known with the distance sensor. If a block's directly in front of it, it will not, I don't think it's able to sense it. And that's why it didn't actually work in this specific situation, so I had to move it over to the side. And then it did start to work, thankfully. And I'm not quite entirely sure why it works like that. I just know it's a thing. So, thankfully the door's open, and then this was this was me also testing the call elevator function. Oh, this is me noticing that I screwed up something somewhere. And I do eventually figure out that. And you'll notice that the elevator's kind of going funky here. And I will explain that in just a moment. But I think I fix it right about here, actually. Is kind of where I try and fix. Yep, here it is. It's me trying to figure out what's going on with the monitor. I accidentally hooked up the electrics to the screen, to that specific camera, to the local turn control, and only the local turn control. So that's what was going on, is that I didn't have that turned on, so the camera wasn't turning on, so there wasn't any feed. So I think I just hooked that directly up to the batteries, is what I did in that specific location. That's where we get to... Oh, wait, no, hold on. I did do something else, I think. Oh, this is me attempting to figure out how to do the elevator shaft, I think. Oh yeah, there we go. So now that's done, let's actually go into the creation and see what's going on, shall we? So welcome to Unit 1C, specifically the left one. So you'll see that this is the camera that was giving me kind of trouble. I don't know why in the world it was kind of clipping through the blocks. I think it's an issue with the field of view with the cameras. I'm not entirely sure, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have the camera poke out a small bit more. So, as always, we go in through the tread door. Go in. There we go. And going up. That door shouldn't be open like that. Interesting. Go ahead and push these. Lovely. So let's do crew deck lighting, passenger deck doors, elevator electrics, and the peripherals. We don't need either of these. This door apparently is not getting any power, so that's something that I'll have to take a peek. Actually, wait, hold on. I think I know why. That's why. Yeah, that's something I might need to look into. Yeah, okay, that's what's going on there. So, if we go into here, we will see the wonderful backside of an elevator. If we go around here, we'll see the front side of an elevator. So this is the call elevator button. Literally all it does, and I think you can actually see it. Yeah, it literally just directly connects to the oh, it does say throttle lever. It directly connects to the throttle and forces it to go to the correct direction. So, oh, I did get that working correctly. So I kind of geared down the slider here. So it goes a bit slower, but hopefully it fixes a different issue that I was experiencing. So there we go. Ooh, that does not seem happy about something. There we go. So there's the doors. This is the pitiful excuse of a counter I've added in. This counter is not a finished product, nor is this entire back area, because I'm thinking of putting like a code lock door for employees to be able to enter and exit. That's very interesting that after a certain point it starts glitching out. Let's see, there's that clipping issue that I was talking about. And again, I think it's an issue of the field of view of the camera. So if I just poke the camera out a bit more, it shall fix itself, I think. So the thing that you saw me testing at the very end is the failsafe of the elevator. What happens if, for some reason, there's an emergency and the elevator cuts power? Well, theoretically, there's a lot of things that could happen in real life. It depends on what kind of elevator it is and all that fun stuff. I decided to have it literally fall to the bottom floor in such a manner that the bottom doors will open up. And that's part of the idea of putting all those doors on a separate circuit from the main elevator electric. So you'll see that the elevator's in the upwards position, and that's a terrible, very dangerous place for me to be. So never do that. And if I turn that off, it should be all the way down. You'll see it's bouncing a small bit, and I think that's just because it doesn't have any power. Though, thankfully, gearing it down seems to have drastically reduced that bouncing effect, which is good. That's what I wanted. So you'll see that the entire thing's powerless, and it automatically defaults to the ground floor. Or the crew floor, which is probably the best place for it to be. Because that way people will be able to fix whatever's going on with it. Just turn it back on and everything's fine and dandy. So let's go ahead and run all the way back here as well. I don't remember if the door... Ah, that's right. I couldn't remember. The door does not open, even if you have the open door button, it does not open unless it's connected to the rear unit. I forgot about that little failsafe that I put in. That's incorrect. That should be on. Also, I never finished the floor coloring. Well, that's a problem. I thought I did. But anyways, yeah, so that's what I've done so far. I put in the very first elevator I think I've ever created by hand. By which I mean I've built it from start to finish. And we're starting to get some actual interior stuff for the passengers. And we're starting to definitely see just kind of the scale of how big this thing will theoretically be. Because this is just the first floor. Well, actually, first two floors, I suppose. There's still another unit on top of that. And there's 2 units to the side of this as well. So you start to kind of get a better idea of just how big this thing will be when it's done. Which is great, because that's exactly... I wanted to exude a sense of, holy, this thing's big. So, you can see I've got all my little supports here just to make sure it doesn't crush this poor thing that still drives me nuts that I don't have a good way of dealing with it. But, that being said, that is what I've done so far. As always, please let me know what you got to suggest, especially now since we have a store that we've got here. And if you want to, you could even let me know what you want the store named, because it doesn't have a name yet. And I really want it to have a name. I really want all the things, all the stores to have names, all the restaurants to have names, and even menus, if you guys feel so inclined. It doesn't need to have a menu, but I think it would be kind of neat. But if you feel so inclined, there's that. I want everything to be exactly what you would imagine it to be, like no stone left unturned. So please let me know what kind of shop you think it should be, what the name should be. Um, and as always, please let me know your guys' thoughts on the project. If you guys want to build stuff to go into the units or want to build a unit, you now kind of know the way that the connections are going to be working. It's going to be a composite send to and from the control units, and each one is going to have its own master and then the slave in the unit itself. So if you want to figure out your own sort of system within the unit and you want to build your own unit yourself, you can now. And I will figure out a way. I'll figure out the connections needed to get from the units that I have built so far to your guys' units. So we're no longer confined to the standards that am going to try and force on you. You guys can figure it out. And that's what I'm really happy about, is that I'm finally letting you guys kind of free, if you will, and you guys get to figure out some stuff on your own. So there you go. And as usual, please leave a like if you enjoyed this, or if you didn't, please leave a comment and let me know what you didn't like or what I need to change about the series. And as always, please hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, and especially make sure that the bell icon is selected to all and not just personalized now, because YouTube's being funky again, as it always is nowadays. And by doing that, you will get notified every single time I post up a new video, so you will never be late to another update of the crawler build. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.